Good morning, everybody. This is your host, Felicia Brogy, with another episode of Positive Tea with Fee this morning. Um, really glad to be here as usual. Very thankful for your constant support. And I hope you guys are doing well as we are entering the last few days of March. So let's get right into it. So, the topic I chose today is furthering your education. And this is a topic that I've wanted to touch on for a while. I've gotten, different requests and questions over the years about furthering education and college and technical advancements and all those things. And I want to talk about a few different reasons why I chose to further my education beyond high school. And I want to welcome any feedback you guys may have as well. So, the first thing I want to talk about is personal growth and networking opportunities. A lot of people right out of high school and also non traditional students as well, and I have been both at different times in my life. They want to pursue a path of personal growth and networking with everyone and everything. And that doesn't necessarily mean just in the job market. It simply means that they want to go beyond where they are, and this is, of course, why you will have some 18 or 19-year olds graduate and they have no idea what they specifically want to do as far as careers, but they're devoted to still being in an atmosphere of furthering their education, whether it be college or a technical institute, to continue to grow, to go beyond where you are. And initially, I remember in high school that there were counselors that would have blocks of time in my junior year and blocks of time in my senior year, and also face to face interviews that would just kind of get your understanding of what the future meant and what plans you may have. And some of us didn't know, or some of us did know, but we weren't really set on the things that we wanted to do. But it's a feeling of knowing that you're going to go beyond where you are. And at a young age, there's a lot, I'm going to say most of the young people have some idea of what they want to do, but some of them don't. And I never felt like that was a problem. The pressure was to me in growth, in wanting to go beyond. And I think that background, your cultural traditions, how you were raised, pretty much wherever you get your foundation, coupled with your education, coupled with your desires, your personality, and just the way you see life in general, I believe all those things are a part of that. But looking further in life, because beyond that, I did become a non traditional student and I did further my education in other ways later in life, still wanting to grow beyond. And so, personal growth is a very big reason why I chose in different aspects to continue furthering my education, even though at that point you get to a place where you're like, I'm here. Where do I need to be? Where do I want to be? And then where am I going? And you realize to get there, you're going to need further education. You're going to need more knowledge. And this is never, ever at any point in your life, beginning adulthood or in the midst of adulthood, saying that you are not good where you are, ever. that you haven't accomplished things and that you don't have an ample amount of knowledge to continue to be successful and influence the world around you in a positive way. It's simply saying that you're getting to another level. And that personal growth coupled with the networking, when I first got to college, it was different. The people were different. There were a few similarities, but everyone came from a different walk of life. And coming from a very, very small town, and I'm only speaking for myself and my choices to further my education and influence those around me to do the same in a positive way, um, it gave me a different outlook on life. It gave me a different introduction on other people, how they live, their values. And it allows you to look at your own values, not to change them, but to get a different perspective on everything. And as you grow and change while furthering your education, it's never just about the knowledge you're receiving, it's the people you're around. It's the teachers, the professors, the um, counselors, the mentors, the peers, the individuals that are on their individual walk of life as well. And that networking was never just about your next career move or making money. That's part of it, and we'll talk about that later. But more about being around different people. I've always been the type of person that felt like it was always necessary to be around people who come from a different background. Because for me, understanding those different perspectives, that's what makes life interesting. That's what makes life, the melting pot. That's what makes us unique. And understanding that for me gave me a different look at life. And it didn't change a lot of my views and values and morals, but it did allow me to appreciate the differences that we have. And in appreciating the differences that we have, I was able to grow because knowing that someone thinks differently from you, but you guys can still want the same things, need the same things, and pursue the same things, that in itself is an opportunity that a lot of people do not get. And furthering your education is going to be one of those ways that you do that. Um, there's so many opportunities, there's clubs, there's organizations within, depending on if you go to a university or a technical college or wherever you go, there's going to be other people there, and those other people, what they bring to the table is their own life's experiences. They bring to the table something different from what you've always thought. And like I tell my son and a couple of other younger individuals that I've mentored, seeing those differences, it builds character because we have to be comfortable accepting that others are different. We don't have to necessarily accept their way of life, but we do have to understand that there is a different way of thinking. And what we have to accept, even if we don't always agree with them or accept their way of life, depending on the situation, that we still have to love them and treat them respectfully and lovingly, regardless. And that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes the world a very positive place, and that's what makes it interesting. And the flip side of that is when you meet people who are different from you in some ways, but you're alike in other ways, you're able to bond, and you're able to build lasting relationships. And even though those relationships may just be a season, they still allow you to grow because they allow you to see a different perspective. And it's always good to see a different perspective. And so, before we even get down to the difference in what Darwin thinks and all those other things that a lot of us have studied over the years within our higher education path, let's just start with the importance of people, the importance of our growth, their growth, seeing them move, seeing them change, seeing them pursue, and all that growth together is an opportunity that I honestly would have never traded for $1 million. So, the next thing that we're going to talk about is career outcomes. Okay. With a lot of things that have changed over the last 20 years plus, because I graduated from high school in the year 2000. Telling my age, but that's okay. I'm 42 years young and growing. Sometimes I wake up, I feel 60. Other times I wake up, I feel 19. Age is simply a state of mind. But with that being said, there's so many different things that have changed as far as what's accepted in certain career paths, what's expected in certain career paths, and how you have to start. And furthering your education is going to not only give you the degrees and the certificates and the credentials, but it's going to give you the knowledge, and that knowledge is going to allow you to have a good foundation in any career. Um, this is, of course, why everyone knows someone that went to school for a specific thing and they're not using that degree, or they're doing something totally outside of that realm. It doesn't mean that furthering their education at that college, that technical school, or that institution that they attended was worthless. Okay. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that they chose a different path. And career outcomes, a lot of people look at that as kind of a downfall because of the increasing changes in the job market, especially over the last 10 to 20 years. But for me, I always saw it as a good opportunity. And the reason why is I was able to learn hard and soft skills. And I was able to learn those because you have to fulfill certain requirements depending on which area you're in. And even for just the general studies part of it, there's certain requirements. And so, with that being said, that's going to show any employer that you're able to stick with a long term project. And I remember it being something where you would meet with your advisor at the universities and kind of know where you're at. And they would advise you to take this class or that class. But I remember for the most part, there were always choices with this prerequisite or that class or that elective. And those are circled kind of around your own individual interest. But I don't ever remember there being a study that did not have a lot of various avenues. And within those various avenues, if your degree that you're pursuing is in one thing, there's still advantages to taking those different classes and studying those different aspects. And the reason I say that is your capacity to critically think and solve problems, whether it's multiple choice question, you're writing an essay, or you're working on one of those project management projects, either or, it's giving that you can stick with something. It's giving that you're able to be devoted. And a lot of companies now are not even looking for your specific study as much as they are looking for the fact that you took the class, you stuck with whatever it was, and you obtained a certificate or a degree. And that, as someone who is also entrepreneur, founder on the other side, because uh, I'm on both sides of the coin. Okay. I have a boss in my 9 to 5, and I am a founder of a ministry, and I'm pastor of it. And I'm also a virtual pastor of another ministry where I was appointed. Um, and so, with that being said, On the supervisory end or the other end, because I'm also an entrepreneur in another business. I have a consulting firm, I have a life coaching firm as well, and I just have a lot of different hats that I wear. I always like to see that a person can stick with something through the ups, through the downs, and just through, the hills and valleys of every day, the navigating of life. And when an employer knows that you have attended any institution of higher learning, it gives them information about you automatically. I know that there are some employers that will, they'll study over your transcript and they'll just really get an understanding of your grades and all that. But I've seen more and I've heard more about those who just simply relate to the fact that you achieved it and you got your certificate, you got your diploma, you got your degree. And I really think those jobs are more centered around character and a skill set that is adaptable to life changes within the pursuit. Because keep in mind, if you are in any program, you have to devote a certain amount of time to learning those hard and soft skills. And when you fulfill those requirements, no matter what your grades are on the individual assignments, that shows that you had a particular commitment. And so, for prospective employers, business partners, or whoever is looking at that, not knowing you personally, that's what that tells you. That tells them about you, pardon me. And in knowing that, you know, furthering your education is going to teach you how to set priorities. You're able to understand responsibilities. You're able to negotiate your life around deadlines. You're creating schedules and you're managing that workload. And those are very important life skills. And it doesn't matter whether you're studying to be a nurse or a project manager or whatever the case may be. You've got those skills because you decided that you were going to commit to that particular study and you were able to complete it. And employers want to see that, organizations want to see that. And of course, there's cons with anything, okay? There's cons with how life can, come up and interrupt those things. And I'm going to say 90% of these organizations, institutions, and colleges, even the ones that are no longer in existence, they had some type of arrangement where they took those things into consideration for each student. And I'm going to say that most of the time I've seen it to where it works depending on the individual. But just like in actual life, working for a company or even, running your own company or organization, there's going to be times where you have to step back, you have to adjust schedules. That's life, but you got to stick with it. And like we've talked about before, life has knocked all of us down and it's caused us all to pause, but you don't stay down. And it's the same with furthering your education. It's not that hard, but it's not that easy, and employers like to see that commitment, you know? And even outside of employers, the biggest lesson that I'm going to say that I was able to really get in all these varying career options, okay? All these, things that are thrown at you about what you can do and what this is going to be best for and why that's important. The self discipline that I gained and the navigating through all the toughness, I was able to gain a different amount of perseverance. I've always considered myself the type to persevere, but I'm going to say that in furthering my education, it really gave me that extra boost to persevere. And like my dad used to say, on those days where you literally have to make yourself go, you're making a decision. You're making a decision, and you're not just making it about the various career opportunities, you're making that about you. You know, like, am I going to decide to be down another day, or am I going to go ahead and go? And like I've told you before, with even some current life's experiences with grief, seasonal depression, and what have you, there's going to be times where you don't go to class, you don't finish that assignment on time. Okay, that's the irony. I can't think of anyone who just had a perfect path in their higher education. They're out there, but I don't know 'em. Okay. You're making a decision at some point of how long you're going to allow yourself to be affected by life. And then you also make the decision of when you're going to get back on the wagon. And that's no different with furthering your education. That's no different with the highs and the lows that come along with that kind of stuff. And speaking from personal experience, it was sometimes tough, but it was still worth it. It was still worth it in the long run because I had to take care of what I had to take care of. I had to do what I had to do. But I also had to get back on that wagon and devote myself to the education path that I was on at that moment. And it's going to continue. I don't feel that we ever need to stop learning. I don't feel that we ever need to stop growing. And I feel that any type of further education was worth it. Any type of further education that gives you all those different career opportunities, all those different paths of getting a skill set that you can never lose once you have it, getting the tools to be able to face life and be workable. The pandemic showed us how things can change in an instant. You want to be prepared. And this brings us to our last point with furthering your education. The pandemic really took us to a level of so many different emotions. And I will never, ever take away from any tragedy or misfortune that was brought on to anyone's life during that time. I pray for you. I love you. And God bless you. And I'm sorry about that. But in talking about furthering your education, the virtual advantages for me were amazing. Um, a lot of you guys know that I am a pastor. Again, that's one of the many hats that I wear. And Kingdom Covenant Connections International School of Ministry, um, its founder, Apostle D'Anthony Robinson, and his team, um, which does include Dr. Bishop Diane Bailey and Pastor RJ Stevenson, just to name a few of the facilitating team. And I'm also a member of the board as well, me, Pastor Felicia Brogy. I want to say that during the midst, it was the second year of the pandemic in 2021 where I enrolled in the school. And I was able to get face to face training. I was able to get one on one training. I was able to add to all the knowledge that I had about God. I was able to get instruction about things that I'd never heard before, specifically about women in ministry, specifically about investments, the proper way to address people in evangelism. The fivefold ministry was broken down to me. Um, There was nothing lost. Virtual platforms in furthering your education, I'm going to give KCCI a 10.5. Um, my assignments were all looked at. There was no pile of emails somewhere where no one opened your Word document. There was none of that. You knew, you got feedback from the instructor. You were able to sit in front of some of the most esteemed religious and educational leaders. And I say that to say this: this is not just a school where you are before pastors and bishops and apostles and archbishops. These are individuals who are also educated. Okay. They're educated to, well, I'm going to say beyond seminary knowledge. And they are doing what they need to do to make sure that those who have a calling or think they have a calling are not just called, but chosen. And they are doing that by breaking down every single fundamental part of ministry, every single fundamental part of the role of the fivefold ministry and all that it is. And with that being said, the theology and theocratic knowledge that goes into what we do as members of the fivefold ministry, they have taken that and they have created an institution that is open to all those who will enroll and be ready to take on the knowledge, the wisdom, the direction, the training that they need to be effective in kingdom work. And if anybody even thinks that you've ever felt that you have leadership, spiritual leadership qualities, or if you are just someone that wants to sharpen your knowledge, please reach out to me and I will get you the information that you need to go forth and to be able to enroll in this college. Hold your head up. Don't be worried about whether or not this is the time. Don't be worried about how it's going to look. Oh, I think I'm called, but I've got this, that, or another. Um, Reach out to me here on Facebook. Um, you can reach out through the Positive Tea with Feed platform or my personal page, Felicia Collins Brogy. You can also reach out to Diane Bailey here on Facebook as well, Messenger, or D. Robinson, D. Anthony Robinson, our apostle. You can reach out to him as well. You can message one of the main forums at Change Life Outreach Ministries at gmail.com. They are starting classes on Monday. It will be every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. for 13 weeks. It will be some of the most intense, loving, fun, informative, spiritually and scripturally driven 13 weeks you will ever have. Um, and you will have a graduation. They can give you more information about that. I remember my graduation. I remember feeling so accomplished, feeling so loved. And, they want you to get the knowledge the right way. They take time with you and you will be shown love. You won't just be given the information and sent on your way. As alumni of that class that I had in 2021, um, they have never lost touch with me. They have never not been available. They are devoted to your success in the kingdom. And for all the virtual schools, because Arkansas Tech University, where I received my bachelor's degree, they are also another school that I will mention that is virtual, that were virtual before and after the pandemic as well. Um, there's not going to be any difference. The virtual schools are growing. The virtual schools are, as they used to say, when you eat a good meal, they put the foot in it. Okay. If I'm going to compare virtual to brick and mortar, I would choose virtual at this point in my life, not just as a non traditional student, but also because I feel like virtual, you're going to get more one on one with your instructors and facilitators. You're going to get more one on one that you have to kind of chase them down, I think, in a brick and mortar. And I'm not saying, like I told you earlier, there was a lot of support in each institution that I attended, but I think the fine tuning of those virtual connections for me with ATU and KCCI, I just found it a lot more personable. I found it a lot more genuine. I found it a lot more, I don't know, it was just more tailored for me, I think. And that's my opinion with the furthering of my education. I will be attending the next KCCI class as well. Again, if any of you have any questions about anything, or you want to get any more specific information about anything we have discussed this morning, always feel free to reach out to me. I try to inspire people to understand that I am an advocate for never ceasing to learn. And when we say furthering our education, we're not just talking about the institutions, we're talking about our individual commitment and investment in ourselves. And those individual commitments and investments do include what others put into us. And I'm fortunate and I'm blessed. And I will continue to further my education until I feel like I've gotten enough. And I know me and I know my purpose. And I don't feel like that's going to be anytime soon because I have a whole lot of stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes. So I love you guys so much for bearing with me. I want to give a shout out to Crowley's Ridge Technical Institute. That's no longer there. That's in Forest City, Arkansas. And they actually trained me back in 2010 when my baby was small, and I moved back in that area when my mom was disabled. I wanted her to have plenty of time with my boy when he was small, and God is so good. I was able to do that before I moved back to Conway. But they trained me as a nursing assistant during that time. And anyone who knows me, you know I love the elderly. I love their stories. I love everything about them. And it was a very emotionally driven time in my life. They're no longer there, but I know that they had a lot to do with a lot of people, not just in the Forest City area, but people all over, having a testimony about going there, humble beginnings. And, some people still have a career that is rooted in the education that they received from Crowley's Ridge. So shout out to them, shout out to UCA. Um, and I'm just happy to be a person that gets to tell my story. And I'm hoping to have inspired you to further your education. Do what's best for you, okay? And do it how you live. Do it virtually, do it brick and mortar, do it semester, stop, go back, do it straight through with summer school involved. Do what you got to do that's best for you. I'm simply here to tell my story and inspire you to value the purpose and the advantages of furthering your education because it's done wonders for me. Thanks for tuning in today. I do have announcements that will follow in the coming week about further episodes of Positive Tea with Fee. As always, I love you guys so much. Never hesitate to reach out to me. This is a platform made for us, not just for me, for us. and I'm here to inspire. And if I inspire and help even just one person, I'm doing my due diligence in fulfilling my purpose. Love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you later. Pastor Felicia signing off. Bye bye.